Hello and welcome to our flipped instructional session on Unit 4, Lesson 5, Life in Ancient Egypt. Here is just a quick lesson overview. We're going to take a look at life in ancient Egypt. What was daily life like living in ancient Egypt? And then you're going to complete an activity comparing Egyptians. So as we take a look at our objectives today and what we want to take notes on, we want to be able to list examples of everyday life in ancient Egypt and explain how archaeologists and historians have learned about the daily lives of ancient Egyptians. So we'll jump right into our lesson introduction. Don't forget to go to the lesson resources and open up your student guide as you begin the lesson. But do you like to play board games? Do you enjoy boating or going on picnics? Do you like dressing up for special events? Many ancient Egyptians enjoyed these activities too. So how do we know so much about people who lived thousands of years ago? Because they covered the walls of their temples and tombs with scenes from their daily life. So we're going to talk about that as we begin our lesson. What did daily living look like in ancient Egypt? And if you take a look at those first few screens, that is where you will find this information. So what was their food like? So when the Nile floodwaters receded, they left a layer of rich black soil that was good for growing crops. Many Egyptians were farmers who raised barley and other grains, which they used to make bread and beer. The Egyptians ate fruits and vegetables, and that included grapes, figs, dates, pomegranates, melons, onions, cabbage, peas, radishes, garlic, and beans. Meats would include fish, duck, goose, gazelle, beef, mutton, and goat. Only the wealthy were able to eat meat regularly because otherwise it was too expensive. The wealthy Egyptians drank wine, while the average Egyptian would drink beer. What about their entertainment? Egyptians enjoyed hunting, fishing, and water sports, and they played board games. Boys and girls played with animals, and many well-to-do or wealthy Egyptians also enjoyed sumptuous banquets that featured musicians playing lyres, harps, and flutes. And what about how they dressed? Egyptian clothing was made of linen woven from flax. Men wore loincloths or kilts of various lengths, and women wore wraparound gowns or tight-fitting sheath dresses with broad straps at the shoulders. Well-to-do or wealthy women would adorn themselves with makeup and jewelry. Men and women wore papyrus sandals. Wigs were very popular, and both men and women would wear them. Children had shaved heads and one long braid. And then what did their work look like? Jobs included farming, working in the vineyards, herding, hunting, fishing, and mining. Some Egyptians worked as servants for the well-to-do, and other Egyptians were craftsmen, and their skills included carpentry, stonemasonry, sculpting, bead making, pottery, and brick making. And women would make the cloth again by spinning and weaving the flax. And then we'll take a look at their housing. Most ancient Egyptians' homes were made of brick. Wealthy Egyptians often had large, spacious houses that had a central garden or a courtyard. Beds, stools, and low tables were the most common pieces of furniture in the average home. Furniture and pottery were highly decorative. All right, next you are going to check your reading. So review your reading from Chapter 8 from pages 109 to 115. And then answer these questions. List some examples of everyday life among the well-to-do in ancient Egypt. We talked a little bit about some of those in the online portion, but take some of that from your reading as well. And then how did archaeologists and historians learn about daily life in ancient Egypt? In addition to what we learned online and in the reading from pages 109 to 115, they also give you on screen 4 or 5 in your lesson, they give you 3 different websites that you can use to answer questions as well. So you're going to find out even more about life for average Egyptians by completing the Comparing Egyptians sheet. So use the book information as well as these websites to complete your sheet and then bring that to class, and we are going to go over that together. And then, in addition to what you read on 109 to 115 about living in ancient Egypt and about that daily living and how we know about that, I want you to also pay attention to Hatshepsut, which you learn about, and 4 other female pharaohs that we learn about in our textbook on these pages. We'll talk a little bit more about the hidden history of Hatshepsut in our flip follow-up, so you can stay tuned for that. But pay attention, maybe even take a couple of notes on those female pharaohs that we talk about in our textbook. So you can look for a flip follow-up session in your Class Connect schedule. Attend that live session. We will review your activities, the comparing the Egyptian sheet as well as the hidden history of Hatshepsut. You can also attend help labs for extra support. Have fun, and I will see you on the flip side.